Joining us is the voice of baseball for this particular program, the voice of baseball for the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, from ESPN, Jet Passan. Jet,
we got the corporate jet going on today.
Yeah, I appreciate that little private plane. This one's a big one though, probably a Challenger, maybe a Falcon. See what you got flying on. I love what you're doing today in the corporate realm because we're talking about something very serious here. This is a big deal. Now, obviously, baseball is riddled with very serious things happening. You go all the way back to the Black Sox, right? Scandal.
Yep.
Whenever there was people getting paid off. Then there was the steroids thing, which had 4 or 5 different testimonies in front of government and everything that kind of took off and took over that entire chatter. And now this one feels like it would be right in line with biggest stories of baseball because it involves the game's biggest star that we're all getting introduced to kind of over the last couple of years in Shohei Ohtani, who we all say, greatest baseball player all the time. The guy's throwing the ball faster than anybody. He's hitting the ball better than anybody. This guy is 2 positions, playing both sides of the field, and he's the greatest of all time. Now, $4.5 million leaves his account to go to an illegal bookie. Then there's a story that his interpreter, who we've seen on TV a lot, literally the only person I've ever heard. That is Ohtani's voice to me from this particular person because he's always there with Shohei. They're very tight. And it's all kind of murky what we're hearing, you know. He's a terrible gambler. The guy can't pick a winner for the life of him. I mean, he sucks at gambling. He's down $4.5 million. Shohei covers for him. Hey, you're a good friend. You've done good to me. Here's $4.5 million. You go pay this illegal bookie that's currently being investigated by the FBI. Then mid-story changes like, nope, this guy actually stole this money from Shohei. But then there's video yesterday of in the dugout, a Shohei, an interpreter, laughing, still getting along. When did Shohei find out about all this? What do you think is the actuality of this? And what do we know right now at this standpoint of the situation as a whole? And I know it's a lot of questions, but just what do we know right now, Jet? And why are they getting along right here if there's a chance that Shohei knows that this guy stole $4.5 million from him? Or did he not know that at that time yesterday morning? How's it all kind of unfolding here?
Yeah, let me give you the timeline there because I can actually explain that one. There's so much, Pat, in this story that we don't know right now and that we can't explain. But at that particular point, Shohei Ohtani knew that there was gambling involved with Ippei Mizuhara, his interpreter. At that point, the story that had been told to Tisha Thompson, our reporter at ESPN, was that Ippei Mizuhara had gambled on international soccer, the NFL, college football, NBA, not baseball, all the other
That's
sports.
Huge. That's big. That's big news.
It's an important part of the story, certainly, because, it is different than Pete Rose. It is different than the Black Sox scandal. So at that point, he knew that there was gambling that had gone on. You can go into the clubhouse, in fact, after the game, and Dodgers players were sitting down, and a group of people, front office people for the organization got up and said, hey, there's going to be a story coming out about gambling. Ippei, would you like to say something? And he was just extremely apologetic. Then they left and went back to the hotel, and at some point there, it seems that is where the story changed. Because the expectation was that, this was going to be running this story based on what Ippei Mizuhara had said to Tisha Thompson, our reporter, on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, suddenly, Ohtani's people come back and say, wait. We disavow the information that was given to you in an interview that we helped set up. Instead, this is our statement. And the statement was that there is a massive theft of money that has gone on. We have documents that show $4.5 million in wire transfers out of a bank account to the alleged illegal bookmaker. Now, what happened during that time? We do not know yet. And why this story changed so quickly? Was there information that was found out? And if so, what was that information? Or did something with the original story suddenly not jive anymore? This is the stuff, Pat, that when you put it out there and when there is no transparency about what transpired, you're going to get suspicion. You're going to get skepticism. You're going to get questions. You're going to get people who are assuming, unfortunately, the worst in this situation. Because you can look at this right now and say, if they're changing their story about this, they've got to be covering something up. Now, I think going forward, it's important to look at this like, if he stole $4.5 million, there are going to be charges that are pressed.
Grand theft. Yeah, that's...
Yes. And if charges are pressed in this situation, we are going to get a full public accounting of what actually happened. We're going to know the extent of the money. You know, we found $4.5 million in wire transfers. There could be more potentially. We don't know. There could be other bank accounts. We don't, like, there are so many factors in this situation that we don't know right now that jumping to any conclusions, I think, is irresponsible. But hey, that's what the internet's for. The internet's an irresponsible place. And people are going to go and
not everywhere.
No, the internet's it's okay. It's okay.
The internet's going to let their jokes fly. The internet's going to let their jokes fly for sure.
Right.
But
that's why people like Tisha Thompson are really important, because her job is to go and get the facts. And that is what our reporters at ESPN are doing right now. We're trying to figure out the full story so that people don't have to speculate anymore.
Well, that's very kind of them, and we're very appreciative to Tish and to the entire crew there. But if it wasn't for the internet, I don't think any of us would have found out about this.
Nope.
So, I mean, yeah, gift and a curse, you know, your guys' business. And then how some people on the internet who have very creative minds, who are very funny, who can link things together and be like, wait a second. So the way I'm reading this, Shohei kind of like insert GIF, meme, video scene here, and then that's good internet.
Oh, they're right.
Hey, there was some good internet last night on this. I mean, there was a time. Yep.
I mean, I think the one that made me laugh is if you flip the top of the Dodgers lineup, hitting number 1 you have Shohei, and hitting number 2 you have Betts.
Okay. Well, so there was also a couple tweets about, you know, like, no. I said Mookie Betts, not more Betts. I mean, there is the internet is going to do its thing, and thank God for the internet, but also thank God for the internet, because I think we were able to read the entire article at a much more accessible rate than maybe in the past. And I actually did roll through that thing trying to understand it all, and many others did as well, not even just ESPN journalists. And it's like, there's still so much that has to be figured out. How does this, and Shohei's still hitting the ball. I mean, with all this going on around him, you know, Jordan, Game 6, whatever the case is, he is still hitting. He hit one off the wall literally today. He's not going to be affected by this. Does that mean that in his mind, and the people that obviously his lawyers are saying this guy stole from him, we need to assume that Shohei Ohtani either didn't know that $4.5 million left his bank account? We need to assume that Shohei Ohtani is completely ignorant to this. Like, how much do we think Shohei knew about his interpreter's terrible gambling, being the worst gambler potentially in the United States of America? How much did Shohei know about it? Is that also a big part of it all? Like, because everybody's automatically going, Shohei's the one gambling, this guy's running the bets. That's like an automatic assumption for people. But I feel like if you read through what the people in the story, the FBI is a part of this too, right? What they're saying is like, no, Shohei legitimately potentially got frauded here by one of his friends, is kind of where we're at right now, right?
They have not talked, neither Shohei Ohtani nor Ippei Mizuhara, they have not talked with federal authorities yet at this point. Now, that may happen going down the road. Ippei, in his interview with Tisha Thompson, said, I was the one who was doing the bets. I was the one who was gambling. I was the one who had the problem. He took full responsibility for the entire thing. And, you know, as reporters, our jobs are twofold. Number one, we get information, and we put the information out there when people are telling it to us. But number two, we're never going to look at information that's given to us and believe it without checking it, believe it unequivocally. Like, that's the whole art of journalism right there. You have to ask questions. You do have to be skeptical. You do have to be a little bit cynical, but you don't jump to conclusions either. This is going to be something, Pat, that's going to play out over a long time. This is not a one-day story. This is not a one-week story. This is not a one-month story. This is probably not a one-year story. This is going to be something that sticks around for a while now, because we have multiple investigations going on at the same time. You've got the federal investigation that's looking into this illegal bookmaker that goes back for a while. You're going to have potentially, if charges are pressed, an investigation into Ippei Mizuhara's conduct. On top of that, you're going to have an MLB investigation as well. And so there are going to be a lot of people looking into this. And the fact, there's a lot of like, yeah, of course the league is going to sweep this under the rug. That's what they do. It's in their best benefit to do so. There's one issue with that. The FBI is not going to sweep this under the rug. Like, when federal authorities are involved in looking at a crime, they're not looking at this like Shohei Ohtani, because he's the best baseball player on earth, warrants preferential treatment. They're looking at this like there were crimes that were committed, and our duty is to figure out who in committing these alleged crimes was involved and what their parts were. And so I think ultimately the story will come out and we will get a full accounting of what happened here. I just think getting it right now, or even getting it as soon as, like our little lizard brains desire, is not going to be a realistic possibility.
I'm not a lizard. You might be, and that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm a total lizard brain. Yeah,
okay, well, that's a whole other conversation. Don't do that on our show. Okay, there's already been enough.
No, I'm talking about myself and Connor. That's it.
Connor.
I'm not a
Connor's
lizard.
a lizard.
I'm not a lizard.
Connor's a lizard.
I swear I'm not. I swear.
That's what somebody who isn't a lizard would say.
I promise. I'm not.
Hold on. Can the camera stay on Connor right now?
Yeah.
All right.
Why do you look like Krusty the Clown?
Oh my God!
Well, actually, we had a conversation about that earlier. It's madness, Jet. I'm going for madness with the hair today because it's March Madness. You see?
You see?
What are you doing to yourself?
Jet, let's get back to this. Let's talk about the feds. Can we go back to our feds conversation after you said you were a lizard?
Yes.
Which is so bold.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I don't think he even realized what he
We'll talk about that later whenever there's not stuff happening in baseball other than baseball games. But let's get back to this entire convo. It's 2024. We've all seen documentaries at this point, and we understand that the feds majority have good intentions for the law.
Yes.
There's certainly been some FBI investigations that have been a little skewed.
doubt.
But
No doubt.
I do think that's a big point, that this is an FBI investigation that brought this information, not an MLB investigation, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That was the first tipster was from the FBI.
Yes. This all started in Southern California with an alleged illegal bookmaker, and in the process, Ohtani's information came up. And in January, I believe Tish Thompson reported they found these wires from this bank account that has his name on it. And so that is how this all started. That is how Ohtani got tied into this. And, look, like, we've been looking into this for a while now. And this sort of reporting, you have to be extraordinarily careful, because it is a huge international superstar whose name is being connected with an illegal gambling ring. And if you're going to do that, like, you want to get as full of a story as you can. And especially if you're going to print it, you want to get it as right as you possibly can. And so, Tisha went and, eventually was connected with Ippei Mizuhara, and she talked with him for 90 minutes. And the fact that he went on the record talking about all of these things that he allegedly did, if you see the quotes in that story, they're wild. Like, it is some crazy stuff that he was talking about. And as a reporter, when you get somebody on the record essentially admitting to doing something like that, it's like a gold mine. And then the story, like, that story changes. And that is why, it's why it's so weird. It's why I think people are responding the way they are. When it came out initially, it was like, okay, Ippei Mizuhara got fired by the Dodgers, and he was tied to this illegal gambling ring. And then you see that and compound it with all of the things that he has said and the way that the story changed. And it just makes you ask questions. Like, that's what comes out of that. They're just questions after questions after questions.
Well, and also things that have happened in the past, you try to link together. We only know what we've seen before. So whenever you hear this, you automatically think this.